Hey guys, so in this video I'm going to be talking about basic brake systems and how they work and some stuff about them in general. In the next two videos I'll go into more specific detail of disc and drum, but this one's just a basic beginning one of it. So when it comes to brakes, you basically have two different types of brake systems. You have disc brakes and drum brakes, and basically how they work is on a disc brake system you have right here, this part right here is called the rotor, and that spins with the wheels in conjunction with it. And over that is a caliper that sits over top of that, and in between here you have two brake pads. And you have a piston there that squeezes that. So basically when you press on the brake pedal, these brake pads squeeze the rotor and stop it from turning. And again, I'll go into more detail on that in my disc brake video. Over here you have a drum brake system where you have a wheel cylinder up here where fluid comes in. And over on top of this system is a drum that spins with the wheel, so that covers this all up. And these two parts in here are brake shoes. So when you press on the brake pedal, this wheel cylinder expands out and basically pushes these shoes outward into contact with the rotating drum that's with your wheels that stops it from rotating. So some of the advantages of them is disc brakes. They dissipate heat a lot better because they're exposed to the open air, so that heat can easily escape, and that can prevent dramatically your brakes from overheating. And performance, because of that, it dissipates the heat better. You can they started realizing in the old days, once they started creating disc brakes, that you could brake later and go around the corner faster, and that's why now pretty much every race car is disc brakes. Advantages of drum brakes on as far as light-wheeled vehicles, light-wheeled trucks and cars, they're pretty much cheaper. You a lot of times you'll see them. If you see them, they're on the rear brakes. So majority of cars, if you ever have these two together, most cars nowadays there's four-wheel disc brakes, and some will have front disc, rear drum. And the advantage of having drum in the rears is, again, they're basically cheaper. So if you get a little car like a Chevy Cruze, a Toyota Corolla, a Honda Accord, and you just want it for cheap daily driver, you know, you don't need that extra stopping power, it's good to just put drum brakes in the rear. Again, it has a front wheel drive, 80% braking is in the front, and 20% braking is in the rear. So if you only got 20% braking in the rear, you don't need that fancy, more expensive disc brakes. In rear-wheel drive vehicles, depending on how much weight is in the vehicle, you can get up to about 60% braking in the front and 40% in the rear. Again, that depends on how much weight you got in the back of the vehicle. Then you got your brake lines. So at the front of your vehicle, when you press on the brake pedal, it connects up top to the master cylinder, and that's basically where you're transferring that physical energy of you pressing on the brake pedal into hydraulic energy, which then comes into mechanical energy, and that's how you transfer that fluid energy to your brakes. In the old days, the brake lines, they were kind of one big system. They shared one brake line, and the problem with that, if you have a leak somewhere, it can completely take out all of the brakes, and you could get in a serious accident. So in 1967, they came out with a law that you had to have a split system. And at first they had a basic split system, as they had one line going to the front brakes and another line going to the rears. Problem with that is if you lose your rear brakes, then you're kind of okay, you got a little bit in the front, but if you lose your fronts and you only got your rears, that can also cause problems. So then they started switching to a split system where the opposites will share. So your right front will share with your left rear, and your front left will share with your right rear. So that way, if one line goes out, you'll have two corners, and that'll be about an even 50% split. And that's, like I said, diagonal. That's the new diagonal split system. Even newer cars nowadays, some of them, they may even have their own brake line now. Especially in some cars, the rear brakes are even electronically controlled, but most front brakes are hydraulically controlled. And they can have their own, like I said, their own brake line with how advanced cars are nowadays. And that's basically it with basic systems. Next videos I'll explain more in detail how disc and drum brakes works. Thanks for watching, and please subscribe.